What good are SVGs in Tinkercad? Let's find out. Hi, I'm James, and this is another one of my Tinkercad videos. In this one, we're going to explore how to work with SVGs, or scalable vector graphic files, when you import them into Tinkercad. And I think this is a way of really expanding the possibilities that might not be as readily apparent within Tinkercad, since the interface is relatively simple and it's kind of an introductory 3D modeling software. So let's just jump right in. So if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you have some basic experience with Tinkercad, so I won't go through all the very basics, but let's just jump into things that relate to SVGs, or scalable vector graphics. Now, you might be familiar with the scribble tool in Tinkercad, and it's certainly a fun thing to play with, but if you're trying to do a more involved drawing or something like that, clearly this isn't the best interface or way to go about with it. So my vector drawing program of choice is Illustrator, and I have some videos on those, especially for laser cutting. And the SVGs that I'm going to be working with are just some samples that I've drawn in Illustrator. So let's just get to those. And at the very basic level, you can just go and import. And so I'm just going to choose a solid file. So I've drawn this little anvil here, and you can scale it at this point or scale it dynamically later. But you can just import it, and it'll follow the drawing that you did whatever program you created it in. And then Tinkercad will treat it just like any of its other solid objects. So all of the regular sort of scaling and rotation, and you can even use this as a whole to cut this shape out of other parts, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. A tool that I think is very powerful within Tinkercad is actually in its shape generators menu. So you want to select that, and then right here, the SVG revolver. This is where you can make a revolved form that is basically in a curved extrusion of an SVG that you've drawn before. Now, a couple things that I've found with this is if you're having any trouble getting it to work, what you could do is bring an SVG into Tinkercad, export it back out, and then bring that SVG that Tinkercad made back into the program. And behind the scenes, I think there's some slight differences with the files where it's making it a bit more compatible with the Tinkercad interface. So here's how the default revolver starts, and then you can just choose a file. Now I'm going to choose a more involved file just to really sort of push the abilities here. And so this kind of linear diamond shape that I've drawn is an SVG, but it has a lot of positive and negative spaces. And while I was preparing for this video, I wasn't even sure if it would work because that's asking a lot for this to do. And you can see right here, the shape generator failed to build, which means it had trouble translating that SVG into this revolved form. So what I've also prepared is the same SVG, and what I've done is I brought that diamond SVG that I drew in Illustrator into Tinkercad, saved it back out, and had that file ready for us. And if we're patient and just give Tinkercad, their processors, a little bit of time to sort it all out, hopefully we should have a successful revolved diamond very shortly. And there we go. So I didn't want to cut the video just to give you an accurate sense of the time that it takes, but it's just a few seconds. So be patient with it. Be patient unless it gives you an error message. But zooming in on this, you can see that that diamond extrusion is revolved around this form. And so it has both positive and negative spaces. And you can control how much of that revolution you want to have. You can go back in and edit it. You can control the number of sides or resolution to it, and so on. So I'm not going to fuss with the revolver too much because it's a very intuitive sort of a tool, and you can play with that on your own. But what I am going to do, just to show you kind of the power of Tinkercad, is I'm going to bring that anvil back in. And we're going to use that as a whole, or kind of a subtractor from the form. So I'm just going to scale it down a little bit. Oops. And we're going to have it sort of pierce through that and turn that into a hole. And if we select all of these and group, the anvil will then act and sort of subtract its form out of that revolved form. And again, I don't want to cut the video, I just want to give it a couple minutes to do that processing. It's really a complex operation that it's going through. And you'll see that how that positive and negative space of that diamond, I'll just zoom in here, you can see that it is sort of extruded all the way through there, and then even bringing in another non-native SVG file and using that as a Boolean subtractor, you can still get that operation to function and end up with some pretty involved forms. So I encourage you to play around with this, and don't underestimate the power of Tinkercad just because it has a little bit of a simpler interface, and it does have some limitations as you get into a lot more organic objects. But I think with combinations of SVGs, there's a lot of really amazing potential there. Well, I hope this video has been useful to you, and definitely get in touch and let me know how your explorations in Tinkercad go, and if you have any other ideas or requests for future videos. I look forward to hearing from you. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can hear from me when I post future videos. Thanks for stopping by.